Inshallah, please check the sound. Play. Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathiran. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters in al-Islam, tonight's class will be regarding our beginner's fit class from the small manual Durar Bahiyyah fil Masail al-Fiqhiyah of Imam Ash-Shawkani rahimahullah. Alhamdulillah, the book has been translated as we have shown you some years back when we first started it, and it's called in English Crystalline Pearls, I believe, or Crystalline Gems. I believe some brothers and sisters in the United Kingdom translated the book. It's one of those two words, pearls or gems, I don't know. Right now, my memory is not serving me well right now, but for sure it's crystalline pearls or crystalline gems. Khairan inshallah. Also, I've done a little bit of research online, and I've seen that there are some brothers and sisters who have translations and written explanations and commentary on it online as well. Khairan inshallah. So the last part of the book that we were explaining was from Kitab al-Hajj, the chapter of Hajj. And alhamdulillah, that's where we left off. And it's also very appropriate that we're reading from this chapter with Hajj coming upon us, and Eid al-Adha, and the rites and the sacrifices that the Muslims are to make during this season. Khairan inshallah. So last week we were explaining, this dars is only once a week from this book. We were explaining the different types of al-ihram. The different types of ihram. The different types of Hajj. Hajj Tamattu', Hajj Qiran, and Hajj Ifrad. And we were explaining al-mawaqit, the miqats. Alright? And we were also explaining before that the importance of Hajj, and the symbolicism of Hajj, and the manifestation of Tawheed, the manifestation of Iman, the manifestation of belief in the prophets and the messengers, the manifestation of sacrifice and selflessness in Hajj, and the great legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam in Hajj. We were explaining all of that last week. Khairan inshallah. So, the author Shawkani, he says, Faslun fi mahdhuratihi, regarding the mahdhurat, the things that you cannot wear and the things that you cannot do when you're in this state of ihram, when you're in that sacred metaphysical state. It isn't a physical state, but a metaphysical state that you've pronounced and made upon yourself, your tongue and your heart. You've declared your intention to make the specific type of worship, whether it's umrah, hajj, tamattu, qiran, ifrad, etc. And then once you've entered into that state, that sacred state, there are now certain physical things that you cannot do, and things that you cannot enjoy, even though they would normally be permissible. They would normally be permissible. Or if they're not permissible, if they aren't normally permissible, then there are things they would be normally haram or normally disliked, such as obscenities, being obscene, cursing and swearing, such as a person being lewd with someone who isn't his wife, arguing and fighting. Those are haram acts. Those are impermissible acts. And when you're in state of ihram, it's even worse. Just like backbiting and these other things while fasting. There's haram all the time to backbite, ghiba. Okay? It's haram to make namima It's haram to strike and to hit and to fight people and to do these things without a just cause, of course. But it's even worse in the state of fasting. And the same applies to al-ihram. Once you have the intention of making Hajj and Umrah and you enter into the ihram, those things which are A, permissible, certain things are now impermissible. B, things which are disliked are even more dangerous in the state of ihram. And C, the things which are clearly haram are even more haram within the state of al-ihram. So the first of those things that are unlawful and impermissible for the one who's in ihram to do, and these things are not haram here, he says, وَلَا يَلْبَسُ الْمُحْرِمُ. The muhrim is not allowed to wear al-qamis. He is not allowed to wear the qamis. And we also showed you an illustration of the traditional concept of a qamis. That was last week. And obviously this is pertaining to a man and only a man. A woman is allowed to wear whatever she wishes to wear, except for a few things which will be mentioned later on. So this is a manifestation of how certain rules and rulings are only for men and not for women, or vice versa. So that's the first thing the muhrim is not allowed to wear, is the qamis. Number two, wala al-imama. Nor is he allowed to wear any imama, a turban. He cannot wear a turban. Wala al-burnus. Nor a hood or a hoodie. A hood or a hoodie. Something which is very old and ancient. A garment in which there is a piece of clothing or cloth to be placed on the head that is attached to the back via the neck. It's very old and ancient. People today, the culture of a hoodie is nothing new. And if you get some time, you'll be it'll be very interesting for you to read about the history of hoods and hoodies and the psychology involved with a hood or a hoodie. Of old and of new. So a great deal of history surrounding someone wearing a hood. All right, if you think about your childhood and you think about fantasy, or you think about stories of kings and warriors and this one, there are many characters that are involved with hoods. Robin Hood, or Little Red Riding Hood, and the list goes on. Monks and warriors and people, they have a hood on a horse riding. And it's even more scary with someone with a hood on than someone with what? Without a hood. There's no question about that. And the concept of discretion and secrecy, the concept of clandestine person having on a hood, covering his face, covering his eyes, etc. And the same applies to nowadays in the urban or in the hood, in the inner city, where what? A hoodie. And a hoodie means something and it symbolizes something. All right? Whether it's pertaining to problems that you have, threatening someone, fighting someone, defending yourself, the police harassing you, whatever the case may be. Okay? There's more. Then we have the concept of sports. There's no mystery and it's no secret that every team, every major team has a hoodie. Of every sport, one or another is going to be a hood. Whether it's for the coaches and the players on the field and it's raining or snowing or it's windy, or just sports apparel. They make millions of dollars every year selling hoodies. People love it. The concept of the warmth, the comfort, and the feeling that the hoodie gives you. Putting your hands down, it gives you a feeling. It's a meaning behind that, all right? So read about that, inshallah ta'ala, with regards to the culture of the hood and the hoodie. It then says, وَلَا الْبُرْنُسِ وَلَا السَّرَاوِيلِ. Nor is the muhrim allowed to wear sirwal, pants, as we explained last week. وَلَا ثَوْبًا مَسَّهُ وَرْسٌ وَلَا زَعْفَرَانٌ. Nor is a person allowed to wear any type of garment that has a special or particular dye or perfume on it, whether it's saffron or whether it is wars. And wars is, he says, نبت أصفر طيب الرائحة يصبغ به. Something like red, orange, yellowish tinge or hue to it, similar to saffron. If you ever cooked with saffron, you know how it looks and you know what color it makes the food turn out. It's prohibited for a person to wear these things in the state of al-ihram. Why? We're not explaining that right now. He says, وَلَا الْخُفَّيْنِ إِلَّا أَنْ لَا يَجِدَ نَعْلَيْنِ. Nor is a man allowed to wear leather socks. You cannot wear khufs when you're in the state of ihram, unless you don't have sandals. You have no sandals to wear, you're allowed to wear the khufs. فَيَقْطَعْهُمَا أو فَيَقْطَعْهُمَا حَتَّى يَكُونَ أَسْفَلَ مِنَ الْكَعْبَيْنِ. But the khufs have to be beneath the ankle. They cannot be above the ankle. He has to wear the khufs as if they're sandal height. They cannot go above his ankle bone. ولا تنتقب ولا تنتقب المرأة, nor is a woman allowed to wear the niqab. A woman cannot, he says, ولا تنتقب المرأة, a woman cannot wear the niqab. She's not allowed to wear the traditional piece of clothing known as the niqab. ولا تلبس القفازين وما مسه الورس والزعفران, nor is she allowed to wear gloves. She cannot cover her hands with gloves, nor anything else that is dyed by wars or saffron. ولا يتطيب ابتداء, nor is the muhrim allowed to put on cologne after he's entered the state of ihram. Ibtida'an. He says ولا يتطيب ابتداء, he can't start it off. Obviously, there's a difference between a person already having cologne on, then putting on the clothing and going into the state of ihram, versus a person putting it on for the ihram. He says, وَلَا يَأْخُذُ مِنْ شَعْرِهِ أَوْ بَشَرِهِ إِلَّا لِعُذْرٍ, nor is he or she allowed to take from their nails, fingers, and toes, and the hair, any part of your body. No hair is allowed to be removed. وَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَفْسُقْ وَلَا يُجَادِلُ وَلَا يَنْكِحُ وَلَا يُنْكِحْ وَلَا يَخْطُبْ وَلَا يَقْتُلُ صَيْدًا. He says here, nor is a person allowed to be obscene and lewd, no type of sexual contact of any sort, touching, kissing, looking, winking, no type of sexual thoughts or play whatsoever, nor any type of obscenity and lewdness and foul speech, nor should you argue and debate. Do not fight and argue when you're in the state of ihram. Nor is he allowed to get married, nor is he allowed to marry someone else. You can't get married yourself, nor can you perform a nikah. These things are all prohibited. Nor can you give any type of khutbah, agreement for marriage, and arrangements for marriage. وَلَا يَقْتُلُ صَيْدًا, nor is he allowed to hunt. You're not allowed to hunt any game. وَمَنْ قَتَلَهُ فَعَلَيْهِ جَزَاءُ مِثْلُ مَا قَتَلَ مِنَ النَّعَمِ يَحْكُمُ بِهِ ذَوَ عَدْلٍ. And whoever hunts, then he must pay an expiation. And that expiation is an animal similar to the animal that he has hunted. If he hunted a fox, if he hunted a deer, if he hunted whatever he hunted, he has to pay the like of it. This is similar, the animal itself, or the what? The qima. Type, he says, and two just people are to be the judge. You did this, okay, this is what you have to pay for. No, it's too big, it's too small. Those are the two judges. He says, وَلَا يَأْكُلُ مَا صَادَهُ غَيْرُهُ, nor is he allowed to eat game that someone else hunted. He's not allowed to eat game that is hunted by someone else. إِلَّا إِذَا كَانَ الصَّائِدُ حَلَالًا وَلَمْ يَصِدْهُ لِأَجْلِهِ, unless the hunter wasn't in ihram and he hunted it for himself. I hunted a rabbit and I bring you a quarter of the rabbit. Would you like some, Uncle Faz? Some fresh rabbit. I just caught it myself. He said, no, I'm in ihram. I'm going to make Hajj. I can't. It's haram. I'm not in ihram, nor did I hunt it for you. But I was generous enough to give you some. Then it's allowed to what? To eat it. As far as if you hunt it yourself, no. And if I hunt it, what? For you, that's also impermissible. We say, Mufti, go get me a what? A nice plump bunny, to roast on the spit, some fresh hair. You say what? Haram. You can't do that. Even if I do it myself. Everyone understand this? I have all the herbs, everything in my sack, right? Grill it, marinate it, roll. La, impermissible. He says, وَلَا يُعْضَدُ مِنْ شَجْرِ الْحَرَمِ إِلَّا الْإِذْخِرِ, nor is a person allowed to cut down or to hack down any trees, bushes, shrubs, any herbage of the haram area, except for lemongrass, except for idkhir. وَيَجُوزُ لَهُ قَتْلُ الْفَوَاسِقِ الْخَمْسِ, and it is lawful for a person to kill the 5 fasiqs, 5 animals or 5 creatures which are allowed to kill in the state of ihram. What are they? We'll get into them. بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. طيب. This is a very long chapter, so let's go back to where we first started. Why can't you wear these types of clothing because these things are traditional, they're normal, they're customary, they're comfortable, they're stylish. And when you're in a state of ihram, the concept of comfort and unnecessary comfort should be avoided. Hajj is not a fashion show. Rather, the Hajj is made to get you out of the mind state of fashion shows and being comfortable. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. And nice and smelling good and looking good. You're supposed to remember death and stand in front of Allah. And Hajj is supposed to represent a sense of equality among the Muslims and a sense of fairness among the Muslims. They were all here together. And my clothing and how rich or wealthy I am is not represented in my clothing. Because we know clothes and the culture behind clothing and jewelry and things like this is a status, a symbol, a status. It's a symbol of what you make or what you're trying to show the people that you make. Okay? So it's clear from my clothes that I have more money than you. It's clear from my clothes that I'm more wealthy than you are, or the opposite. But we're talking about the outward sense. Someone could be broke as a joke, as we say, but still be a very sharp dresser. Could have someone's clothes that he wears, steal the clothes, or spend all the money on clothes. And not have no money in the bank, not own anything, not have no real property. Everyone understands? But it still shows something. And the person can use some type of pride by how he or she is what? Dressed. And this is totally opposite to the teachings of Hajj. And we're supposed to look at ourselves as what? All servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here. Everyone understand this? As far as what type of glasses you wear, what type of wristwatch you wear, as far as what type of sandals you have, what type of knapsack or bag you have, that's a different story. That's a what? Different story. You may have some very expensive glasses on, which clearly show that what? Your sophistication and your taste and your class. But that's something that's, everyone understand this? And my advice, and Allah knows best, is that if a person is making Hajj, he or she should try their best to minimize these things. If you wear glasses or you have to have on sunglasses, try not to have some really expensive ones. Or if you have some really expensive ones, it doesn't have to be the flashiest model. And there are many watches and glasses and bags which are very, very high end, but they're not that what? Flashy. Okay, so no one is saying that you can't have something which is quality. We're not saying that you can't have something which is nice on Hajj, your glasses or your watch or your shoes, but you should try to what? Tone it down. All right, and not the opposite as many brothers are, well, I can't dress like this, so therefore I have to have what? The flyest glasses, the flyest watch, the flyest shoes, so you can see something. We should try to avoid that. Everyone understand this? We try to what? We should try to avoid that. Right. So these are some of the reasons why a person is not allowed to wear these articles of clothing. This is the hikmah why the muhrim is not allowed to wear these articles of what? Clothing. Everyone understand this? Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. The concept of a woman who doesn't wear the niqab. Now we live in a time in which people say that the niqab is just a custom. Everyone understand this? You cancel the call? They say that it's not a piece of legislation. It's just custom and aada. It's a custom of the Arab people, so on and so forth. Now, obviously, that's a long discussion and argument. But what's important is that if it was just purely a custom and had no place and no origin among the Muslims in Islam, why would it be mentioned in the books of fiqh? If it was just something that had no religious symbolicism whatsoever. Everyone understand this? Then obviously a person is going to argue, well, he says pants, hoods, and these other things. Are those also religious things? Those are articles of clothing. But the fact that the Prophet ﷺ, he specifically addressed the men and the women, meaning that the covering of the face with an niqab was something which was known and it was practiced. Everyone understand this? And for it to have no religious importance whatsoever, and it was nothing more than a pagan tradition, I don't think it would have been continually mentioned in the books of fiqh century after century, year after year. The rulings of what to do on Hajj and Umrah, let alone the proofs and evidences that support that. I understand the point that we're trying to get to. The point that we're trying to get to. Khairan, inshallah. And as we say before, when it comes to wearing the niqab, covering the face, when it comes to the beard and the pants and all these different issues like this, if there is a person, a scholar of Islam, a researcher of Islam, a student of knowledge, who honestly, truly believes in his or her heart that you don't have to grow a full beard. As long as you have some beard on your face, some hair on your face, the niqab does not have to be worn. Or the person may say it's not from the deen. If you really believe that from your research and you're free from being biased or partisan, then that's one thing. But what is the reason behind most people saying that the niqab is not obligatory or the niqab is not even from the deen? Do you think it's pure scholastic research? Or do you think the fear of non-Muslims, the fear of sinful, ignorant Muslims, the fear of harassment, and the want to fit in and to look in has an effect upon it? So we have to be realistic with ourselves now. You wear pants that are high above your ankles. You have on high waters. Do you stick out? Do you look funny? Do you look weird? Do you believe that the pants are allowed to be worn beneath the ankles because that's your opinion based off of fiqh? That's not bad. The ulama have spoken on this and the view that most of them take. Or are you just saying don't have to have it because you don't want to stick out? And a full beard is scary. It's frightening. It's intimidating. The very first thing that people think about when they see with a big beard in the airport is ISIS, Qaeda, terrorism. Is that why you're saying that you can trim it up? Or do you honestly believe that in your heart? So the ijtihad and research and free opinions, it has to be based off of a tajarrud. You got to be free from being biased and leaning towards a side or opinion. You have to have a what? An empty cup, as we say. And this is what my research has led me, is that the beard is allowed to be trimmed, shaped up, so on and so forth, as long as it's not shaved. That's my research. Or am I saying that because I want to fit in and I don't want to stick out too much at my job? I want to keep my job, but I have to what? Trim my beard and shake a woman's hand. It's not haram to shake a woman's hand. Why are you saying that? Because you researched the hadith and you feel that it's weak? Or you just want to shake someone's hand at work? So you have to be mindful of these things, brothers and sisters. And it lies no doubt, one of the most dangerous things that we live in today is the collapse of the pure, free, traditional Islamic scholarship. And there are zealots on both sides. Zealots and extremists on both sides. Those who are very short-sighted and narrow-minded and weak-minded. Simple, feeble-minded people who think that there is no independent research in 2019. Whatever the cause for this is. It could be an Arab American thing. It could be a Desi American thing. It could be the 4 Imams have died already. They're in the past. We don't need to make no more ijtihad. There are many different reasons. It's not just one reason why people become closed-minded with regards to doing independent research. Oh, we can't do this in America or in the United States. We only have to get the fatwa from overseas. We don't have to call this sheikh. Only a scholar from this country can answer this question and can research it himself. All right? This is a problem. And then we have those who go on the other side of extremism, in which there's nothing which is sacred of the traditional legacy of fiqh. And everything is reinvestigated, revamped. Nothing is sacred. We just discard everything and we do it all ourselves today from the get-go. And if it doesn't make sense or doesn't go with politics or democracy or this or that, we say it's weak and it's false and it's just an Arab custom. It's just a view of Abu Hanifa who lived over 1,000 years ago. We don't have to listen to it. That's a problem. Being extreme. And the person not having the proper qualifications for his own independent research. So there is a balance. There's a what? There's a balance. And we cannot act like the pressure from non-Muslims and from the media and from secular Muslims isn't a reality, because it is a reality. It is a reality. It's a huge reality. And most opinions that these people make up and just come out of the woodworks with, these opinions wouldn't exist if they were still living in Egypt or Pakistan. They would never say this, because there would be no need to. They would never make this interpretation of this verse or this hadith if they were living among Muslims, because it would be no need to. There would be no issue with the Prophet marrying Aisha at a young age. Until the non-Muslims say, hey, how can he marry a girl so young? Oh, well, you know. And then they have to twist and warp to appease them. You understand what I'm saying to you? Someone who owns his own business, who runs his own business, who's independent, who's self-sufficient. It's not like someone who works under someone else. And he has to check in with someone else and speak to someone else and shake someone else. And it's not the same. It's not the what? It's not the same. Let alone in America or a Muslim land or someone who's an entrepreneur in the United States. I run my own car lot. I sell these cars. These are good, fine cars, alhamdulillah. And I don't shake hands. No problem. I've never had a customer complain. I've never had a customer complain. The woman, she comes to my place, she gets a good car, she gets a good deal, no complaints. But you work for someone else. Oh, well, Sheikh Fulan says that I can shake the woman's hands because, it's a different story. Because you're under that pressure. So these are realities and these are influences upon fiqh. Okay? And they're extremists on what? Both sides. And we're not talking about one group or one party. They're zealots on both sides. And people who lack knowledge and a proper balance on both sides. On both sides. So we have to be mindful of this. Tell you, moving forward. So wearing the gloves, wearing the niqab, and he doesn't say that a woman cannot cover her face, nor does he say a woman cannot cover her hands. But he says she is not allowed to wear gloves, nor wear the niqab. As far as wearing a veil or a screen that is not fitted on the face, that is not made for the face, then that's a different story. Covering the hands with the normal garment, that's a different story. But not the fitting gloves. The fitting glove. And this is why some of the ulama, they say that al-makhit, which is translated into English to be a stitched or sewn garment, which is not correct translation. It says ma suni'a ala udwin min a'da' al-insan. It's something which fits around the organ or the body part. The shirt has holes made for it to fit on you. The gloves fit on the hand. The niqab does what? Fits on the face. Things like this. The khufs fit on the foot. Pants do what? They're made around the body. And the ihram, the izar and the rida is not meant to be like that. So this is from the wisdoms of that. Wallahu alam. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. As far as putting on perfume before you have on the ihram and you didn't take a shower or wash it off, that's a different ruling. And as far as putting on deodorant, what is the ruling on having scented deodorant? Can you have on scented deodorant when you go into the state of ihram, or should you just use scentless deodorant? At the end of the day, of course, it's safest to use scentless deodorant. That's the safest thing to do, just to use scentless deodorant, okay? However, if a person took a shower and they put on some scented deodorant and then they left the hotel in Medina, went to Dhul Hulayfa, and then put on the ihram there in the bathrooms, it's a different story. You can still smell it, but it wasn't for the ihram. Everyone understand this? Khairan, inshallah. So some of these things are specific to men, some are specific to women, and some are shared. As far as a snag nail, you have a very bad snag nail, it's permissible to take it off if it's going to harm you. It's permissible. As far as if you have to shave your head, a person has lice, a person has a very bad scalp injury, he's cut, he's wounded, that's a different story with regards to what you have to pay after you've shaved or trimmed your hair. As far as the mustache, then the mustache is to be trimmed in al-Islam, and the beard, as we know, is not to be trimmed in al-Islam. It should be left naturally. Wallahu alam. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. As far as al-fawasiq wal-khams, then the 5 fasiqs, it says here in the footnotes, هي الغراب والحدعة والعقرب والفأرة والكلب العقور. The 5 fasiqs, they are: number 1, the crow; number 2, the hid'ah. And the hid'ah, some ulama say it's a type of bird. It's a type of bird. Wallahu alam. Not a crow though. Number 3, wal aqrab, is a scorpion. And if it's permissible or recommended or obligatory to kill a scorpion, even in the state of ihram, what is the ruling on having a scorpion as a pet? Keeping it in your house, giving it a name and feeding it in a glass tank. Is that permissible? To keep something that you've been commanded to do what? To kill. That's a long discussion in itself. Is the scorpion venomous? Is the scorpion handled properly? Is the scorpion let loose? That's a discussion in itself. And the same applies to snakes. Can a person have a venomous snake in his house? Or if it isn't a venomous snake, let's say it's a constrictor. All right, can a person have a snake in his house? Doesn't have fangs, doesn't have venom, but it squeezes his prey to death. Is it permissible to keep a snake in your home? And what do the hadiths tell us about getting a snake out of your house? All right, that's a concept of modern American culture today. And when you go to the pet store, Monster Pets or Petco or Exotic Pets, and they have all types of things. And people, they want these exotic pets in their homes. Is that permissible to have, huh? Moving forward, wallahu a'lam, we're not getting into that right now. Afterwards, he says, wal fa'ra, and a rat, a mouse. It's called a fasiq because it comes out, runs, and it does what? Tips over the candle, tips over the lantern, and fire comes. Let alone rats, they eat your stuff, bite your stuff, destroy your stuff. And they give you a great deal of what? Headache. Plague. And there's humans, unfortunately some humans may be what? Included in the rats as well. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. And we explained that, the culture of that, a person who tells versus a criminal who tells. There's a word of a difference between the two. And in most cases, and Allah knows best, the thing which is dishonorable and looked down upon is the criminal who's caught, who feels the pressure, and then he does what? Tells. And they give him that derogatory, dishonorable term, a rat. Because you enjoyed the crime, but now you want to do what? Have them take the fall instead of yourself. And then you come out acting like you're tough and I didn't say anything. Everyone understand this? Moving forward, he says, wal kalbul aqur, and a vicious dog, an attacking dog. طيب. We have an issue here. مسألة حصرها في خمس وهل يصح الزيادة عليها وفي السيل مسألة وهل يلحق بها غيرها مما يضر واختار النعم. طيب. Now, are there other animals and insects and creatures that have the same ruling as these five? Or did the Prophet only mention these five for a spiritual reason? Or anything which is harmful and venomous and destructive is added and come under that qiyas. Wallahu alam. طيب, moving forward. He says, وَصَيْدُ حَرَمِ الْمَدِينَةِ وَشَجَرُهُ كَحَرَمِ مَكَّةِ إلا أن من قطع شجره أو خطبه أو خبطه كان سلبه حلالا لمن وجده ويحرم صيد وجه وشجره. طيب. He then talks about the trees of Mecca and the trees of Medina. The hunting and the game of Medina and the shrubs and the bushes are the same. The rulings that apply to Mecca are the same rulings that apply to Medina. And obviously today, one asks the question, what remains of the original trees and bushes and shrubs of Mecca and Medina? With globalization, hotels, construction, concrete, asphalt, what remains that was originally there? Now, and of course, there are certain trees that have been there for a very long time, and certain things that grow naturally. As far as the man-made things, the man-planted things, and the ulama say those are what? Different issue. Those are what? Different issue. Everyone understands? But the things that Allah Azza wa Jal has allowed to grow, those things came by themselves. Those things cannot be cut down and taken away. Everyone understand this? Khairan, inshallah, we'll stop here tonight. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.